Welcome, everyone, to St. Denis Catholic Church here in Diamond Bar, California. This is episode 2 of our new video series called St. Denis Now. Tonight, during this live-streamed episode, I will talk with Veronica Smith, a parishioner and a licensed clinical social worker, and we'll discuss what we can do to help ourselves and help our families better cope with the coronavirus pandemic and lockdown. Toward the end of tonight's live stream, we will take questions from viewers. And so if you're watching this live on Facebook, you can type your questions into the comments section on Facebook. Please note that we're live streaming this on Thursday, May 7th from 7 to 8 p.m. So welcome, Veronica. How are you doing?
Good, very good. Thank you for having me.
I mentioned that you're a licensed clinical social worker. What does that mean?
What does that mean? It means that I am licensed to do therapy with individuals, either adults, older adults, children, teenagers, couples, and families.
And so you work with all of these
I do.
people in all of these categories, including teens
Right.
and parents and just adults.
Exactly.
Okay, and smaller children too.
Smaller children too.
That's good. So how long have you been doing this social work?
I've been doing it for 12 plus, like about 18 years.
Okay.
So I worked at the Los Angeles County Department of Mental Health for about 6 years, and I've been doing private practice for 12 years now.
12 years in private practice. That's good.
Yes.
And on the personal side, you're married.
I'm married, yes.
Todd is your husband.
Todd Smith is my husband.
And you have...
I have 4 boys.
And how old are they?
They are 18, 17, 15, and I have a 5-year-old
Wow.
boy.
4 sons.
Yes.
That's great.
Busy.
That is. So you're speaking from not only your professional experience, but also your personal experience, lived experience. You're living through this with all of us.
Exactly.
So how would you say, given your experience in both your personal life and in your professional life, how are people suffering psychologically, socially, and in other ways because of the pandemic and the lockdown?
So, speaking professionally, I've been seeing a lot of depressive symptoms, anxiety, where there's a lot of frustration going on with like the different scenarios of everyone's lives. People have lost their jobs or have been laid off, so there's a lot of anxiety because of their situation. Others are basically they're bored. Loneliness. Loneliness is a big one, which as a result brings on depression. So we have to be careful with those people who are living alone mostly.
Yes.
Even if we're not, if they're not living alone, maybe for example the children, parents are working at home, but they're doing their schoolwork, so we're not really on top of them all day. Finding out what they're doing or monitoring them.
Yes.
So they become lonely, depending if it's an only child, if it's like 2 children and they're doing their own thing. So there is loneliness in children as well.
Even though the parents are maybe staying at home, working from home, the children can be lonely because the parents have to work.
Right.
And can't really attend to their children all the time.
Yeah, they had school, so they were in school while parents worked. But now they don't have school, so now they're alone.
Right.
So, yeah.
It's a challenge for everyone. For everyone. Yeah. Are there unique challenges for parents who are divorced or separated or single parents?
I have a few of those cases right now, and the things that I've observed with these situations is that the parents are probably not on the same schedule, and one is being more lenient than the other. So a lot of co-parenting needs to happen, but prior to this whole situation, each relationship, between the parents may have been, something of a struggle to begin with. So now with this on top of everything, the communication needs to be better, and they need to be on the same page in terms of a routine and rules and that they have in their home. So that's something that I've seen that has created some problems with the teens especially.
Okay. Because the teens or the children are caught up between their divorced parents, going perhaps
Right.
back and forth from one home to the other.
One has rules, the other one doesn't, or they're
Right.
different rules.
Right.
Especially with this whole staying at home order.
Oh, yeah.
Some people have different views. Maybe one parent has one view, the other parent has another view, and
Right.
they're not having the same schedule for the child.
So one parent may be obeying the stay-at-home order, the other parent may be not obeying it, and the children are being pulled in different directions depending on
It
which
gives
parent
different,
they're with.
yeah, it gives different messages to the child, and then on top of that, you've got schedule, like a routine. One parent wants them to excel in their schoolwork. The other parent, lets them, play on video games all day or all night, and then they wake up at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Their day is shot. So one parent is, asking, well, what's going on? So then there's like arguments and discussions regarding all that, and who gets, the result of everything is basically the child becomes frustrated and depressed and anxious about the whole thing.
Now you mentioned a schedule, and I know that you gave me a schedule, a recommended schedule or a proposed schedule for children, which we can share with the viewers at home if you'd like to talk about it.
This is just a simple schedule that I liked to hand out to my clients because they could change it up. It doesn't have to be just for a child; it could be for the adults as well, and change it up a little bit to their own liking and in terms of what they're trying to do for their child. The productivity, the leisure time, the family time, have everything scheduled so that they can have a productive day, a feel-good day. Some of these kids don't have that schedule, and so they just do whatever they want. And then when the parent comes in after their hard day of work at home,
Right.
They come in and ask what they did, and so then they get mad because nothing's been done.
Right.
Giving them a schedule and holding them accountable for something. I mean, that's what we do when we send them to school.
Right.
They've got period 1, period 2,
Right.
period 3, or even like elementary school. They've got something going on, and
Yes.
everything is scheduled.
Right.
And it's given to them, but now parents and children have to come up with their own schedule, which is one of the stressors
Yes.
that parents are having, coming up with their own schedule.
Do you want to walk us through like a
Sure.
proposed schedule, like the one that I believe is going to be shown on screen?
So basically giving the child a little bit of time to sleep. So wake up at, it says here 9, but you'd want to wake up like at 8 to get, your grooming in and some breakfast, maybe a little bit of, cleaning up the room, just the personal stuff, taking a shower. So 9 o'clock, 9 to 10, it's, a little bit of exercise, stretching out, and depending on the school schedule too.
Right.
If they start at 8, then we can't do this. So that's why, they could, people can, structure it to their situation.
Yes.
Academic time, 10 to 11. This is for children, like maybe for elementary school kids.
Okay.
But academic time should be more than, an hour, I think.
Right.
Maybe like 2.5 hours in the morning, just like school. And also, when you're working at home, mom and dad, or either of them, can come and have lunch with them. So that's a break for everybody. Everybody
Right.
comes, convenes together, and talks about what they've done. So that's almost like holding them accountable at that time too. So throughout the day. So that way it gives the parent also that ability to take a break. Because when we're at home, working at home, we don't take breaks.
Right.
And we end up doing, more than what we should, and forgetting about, not forgetting, but being stressed about having the children there and not knowing what they're doing. So getting that 1 hour of lunch, I think that is really important. It's almost like a dinner situation where you come together as a family and talk about what you're doing.
Right.
Hold them accountable for what they're doing. And so after lunch, I mean, it could be that you do another hour and a half of schoolwork.
Okay.
Reading time, chores are very important because stuff needs to get done around the house. Everybody's home. Things are going to get out of place and disorganized. So we have to hold the kids accountable, teach them how to do certain chores, and hold them accountable for these chores every day, because we're all in this together.
Right. I've heard that somewhere before.
Yeah. We're all in this together. So everything that you're hearing out here, bring it inside, to your own home, and let's do it together, because this is the only way we can thrive.
And I see you had some chores, you had quiet time as well.
Quiet time would be, some time for them to do whatever they want, rest, or it's not the whole video game thing just yet.
Well, at school, they have gym and recess and ways to kind of
let out the energy.
Yes.
So exercise is a great thing to incorporate. It's not in here because it's from children.
Yes.
So personally, I'll give you a story. What we're doing. My sons, do end up working out after their academics are done. Right? So it's either early in the morning for them or after school is over.
Yes.
So, and they love it because then now it's time to play. So they work out, they're all dirty, let's play something different, and they either go shower or go in the pool, So then the rest of the day is, okay, let's relax. And then dinner comes around.
Right.
And like a normal, sit-down dinner.
Right. But there might be homework too, I would imagine.
No, not really.
Not these days?
I'm finding that the schools are very lenient on what they're giving the children. And I've talked to a lot of teachers and counselors, and they're saying that the grades that they had are going to stand, and everything else that they're doing is for extra credit.
Right.
So they can't fail after this. So, but the work that they're getting is not what they would have gotten otherwise. So that's for the public schools that,
I remember hearing a discussion about the fact that not every child has access to the internet or has access to a computer, or and so it'd be unfair to hold, all the children with unequal access to resources to this high standard. Yeah.
So we go to another issue there. The parents they don't want to see their child just doing nothing, so they have to figure out what to give them academically if they don't have that resource.
Like supplemental work, like maybe, I don't know, I'm not a parent, assigning a book to read and then maybe discussing it. Or,
And right now, where do we get books? I mean, hopefully they have some books at home, but we could do electronic, but again, you need the electronics to access those things.
Right.
Some people don't have that. So, I know that Costco is one of my favorite places to shop. They usually have workbooks, especially during the summer, but they do have them now.
Okay.
Because summer's coming up.
Yes.
So they have every grade, there, so at least they can stay busy and have their wheels turning.
Yes.
For those people that don't have the computers and the resources to get online.
Okay.
So Target has, a few items as well. Just think of things that, in terms of your grade level, the kids' grade level, and give them something that is going to just turn their wheels,
It occurred to me that if both parents are working from home, you could trade off responsibility for the kids. You're responsible for the morning, making sure things get done, and then I'm responsible for the afternoon in the similar way?
That is, yeah, that would be really nice, yeah. I
Uh-huh.
mean, I don't have that because my husband's not staying home right now.
Right.
He's working.
Yes.
So it would relieve some stress on the parents
Hmm.
in regards to having the kids do what they need to do.
Right.
I think chores are a very important part of this whole day, too. Um, this time staying home with our families, I believe that it's kind of like a blessing in disguise just because we can incorporate in the schedule a few creative ideas, like maybe teaching them how to cook
Hmm.
or holding them responsible for a day and, sharing their abilities, their cooking or baking abilities, doing some gardening,
Hmm.
things around the house.
Hmm.
Um, uh, it's just being creative and figuring out what hasn't been done and what you would have wanted to do if you had the time.
Hmm.
We've got the time. Let's figure out what it is that we can do with our children.
Yes.
And it's enjoyable. And
Mm.
I'm finding that it's really nice to have them home, to tell you the truth. Although it is stressful.
Yes. Uh, you may not know this, but I was a lawyer before I became a
Hmm.
priest, and I can't imagine like working from home and uh, to do the work that used to do. I had to really concentrate. I really couldn't be interrupted,
Hmm.
and I can't imagine parents trying to do that kind of work from home and then still, parent their children and make sure the
Right.
schoolwork. It's like yeah.
Um, yeah, you're right. It's like, for example, me, I would be in the situation where I'm like a single parent because my husband's not home, right?
Right.
Um, so I have, I'm lucky to have a friend who can watch my younger one at least at home
Mm-hmm.
while I get my work done.
Mm.
So I had to figure something out,
Right.
and have that person agree to come,
Yes.
because that's, kind of like something that we're supposed to stay home, right?
Mm.
And I'm so fortunate to have her. Um,
But maybe reach out to grandparents or.
well, grandparents is a different issue because they're over 65 usually.
Oh, that's true.
And so we can't ask them because they're afraid.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody has a point of view
Mm-hmm.
in terms of how they're really taking this stay at home order.
Mm-hmm.
So grandparents, I would not have them. Some of my sons, some of my sons' uh, some of the kids in the preschool,
Mm-hmm.
the grandparents were the ones that took care of that child
They
after
were
the
the
preschool.
they were the primary caregivers at least for part
Right,
of the day, if not the
right.
whole day.
And so they, said, we're not going to, watch him if he's going to continue going to preschool.
Oh wow.
So that was at the very beginning.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, grandparents are not an option right now.
For some,
And
yeah.
so we learn to appreciate what we have
Mm-hmm.
when we're doing this.
Yes.
There's a lot to learn about this whole situation, as individuals and as families.
I hope employers are um, uh, lenient toward the parents too, who are trying to balance, you know, uh, doing their job from home and then also, you know, parenting their kids at the same time.
Hmm.
Um, uh, yeah, and yet I know that there are some jobs where there's so much pressure on you to perform that, I don't know.
Well, the thing is that,
Maybe you have to negotiate that with
yeah.
your employer and say, while I'm having to work from home, I need some, you know, accommodations.
Well, the thing is that most of the agencies, companies, wherever everybody works at, they're having the same issue that everyone else is. This is new.
Hmm.
They've had to come up with something, to accommodate the situation. So, for example, I was talking to one of the dads yesterday, and he was talking about how they're so busy because they're trying to figure out how to get things, out in production and whatever the product was. I don't remember
Right.
exactly, but um, to getting the buyers and this and that. So it's like they're trying to problem solve as they go along. So it's a lot more stress.
Yes.
And so this is new to everybody. We've never been in this position before.
Right.
So I think, everyone has done such a great job in adjusting,
Mm-hmm.
although there are stressors
Right. Right.
within the family
Yeah.
setting. So are we forgetting the children a little bit? They are also suffering.
Mm-hmm.
They're also suffering because they are not getting the socialization that they were getting from the schools.
Mm-hmm.
That's what they like to. They like to go to school because of their friends.
They miss their friends,
Yeah,
right?
right. Recess is their favorite subject.
Mm-hmm.
So they're not getting the socialization.
Right.
So they become bored, lonely. They start, refusing to do things that are asked of them,
Mm-hmm.
their responsibilities, and then the parent doesn't know what to do
Mm-hmm.
at that point. So those are some of the big issues.
Well, what do parents do
Well,
under those
I've
circumstances?
suggested getting. Okay, so a routine is essential for a successful child. So if we don't have a routine down, that's why this is so important.
Yes.
If we don't have a routine down for a child, then they're not going to be successful in whatever you're expecting them to be successful in.
Okay.
Chores, studying, academically,
Mm-hmm.
or even exercising.
Mm-hmm.
They have to be given, some structure.
Okay.
So in starting this whole thing, parents were like, scrambling to figure out how they were going to do their Zoom meetings and, all this stuff at home.
Right.
But then, the kid's right there, we're safe, we're good,
Mm-hmm.
just eat this when you get a chance, or,
Right.
and we kind of like put them to the side a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe not everyone, but
Yes.
that's what I had been seeing,
Mm-hmm.
And now they're settled, and now they're frustrated because the child is not doing what they're supposed to be doing.
Right.
So that's so the schedule. You want to look at the last one, 6 to 8. It could be family time. It could be video game time.
Mm-hmm.
But they've got to go to bed at a certain time
Mm-hmm.
because of the structure again.
Right.
They're not going to get up on time the next day if they don't.
Mm-hmm.
Some kids are going to bed at 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
What are they doing?
Right. Video games,
games.
probably. That's what else?
It's video games.
Social
Yeah,
networking.
It's more video games, but
Yeah.
in the video games you can play with other friends.
Okay.
So I'm hearing, waking up at 12, 2 o'clock in the afternoon, that's just not healthy.
Yeah, that is
It throws your whole, schedule off.
your biorhythms, whatever it's called. Yeah.
So in following the schedule for your children, you want to follow it for yourself too.
Mm-hmm.
So down here, when it's like bedtime, you want to also, think about maybe relaxation time, for the children and for you. Debriefing.
Mm-hmm.
Debriefing with them in terms of how they're doing, what can we do better,
Yes.
How's it going, because we're not talking, sometimes we're not talking to our kids about what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
So debriefing and talking to them,
Right.
giving them that forum to talk about whatever they want, or maybe even about like their friends. So are you communicating with your friends? Maybe even setting up a Zoom meeting with their friends.
Mm-hmm.
I know that they have the other social media
Right.
apps and all that, but sometimes a Zoom meeting is a little more of like, let's do a play date.
Seeing people
Mm-hmm.
is much better, perhaps, than texting them.
Right.
Yeah.
And like Snapchat and Instagram, they do have videos there, but it's not really like live,
Mm-hmm.
talking to the person.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, there's lots going on right now.
Yeah, for the littler children, I guess the parents would have to coordinate with the parents of their friends to
Mm-hmm.
set up, say, a Zoom meeting at 3:30
Right.
after school is done or something.
Right.
Yeah.
My 5-year-old is in preschool, so he
Mhm.
doesn't know. He's not too connected with the friends, but he knows them and he likes them.
Mm-hmm.
So we've been so blessed with our teachers. They've been amazing. People have been amazing altogether.
Mm-hmm.
They've coordinated Zoom meetings, 3 times a week, and story time. I think it's 4 times a week,
Mhm.
even on weekends.
Mm-hmm.
And they do their songs. They see the friends, and my son loves it.
Mm-hmm.
So they have also questions. Why can't we go to school? We have to talk to them about it.
Right.
They deserve to, have an explanation too.
Mhm.
So
I like the debriefing that you mentioned at the end of the day because sounds like it would give parents an opportunity to make adjustments,
mhm,
a little bit, changes every day, kind of improving how we do, how they do things.
right.
Um,
The thing is that everything's changing. I mean, things change every day with this whole thing.
mm,
The governor's making these, orders every week or every 2 weeks.
hmm
Um, there's changes that are happening every day, so we have to adjust to everything.
Right.
So, I mean, I had a discussion with my sons last night
mm,
because it sounds like things are opening up tomorrow.
right.
But in terms of what each family feels like they want to do in terms of reconnecting with with the community again,
hmm
um, it's all a personal thing, right? So
hmm
um, we have to talk about what we're going to do,
Right.
and they have to cooperate because we are all cooperating with these orders
hmm
that we are not liking, maybe,
Right.
or we're refusing to understand, or whatever it is, right?
hmm
Um, or we have opinions about them,
Right.
but we have to cooperate. So everything that we need to do out here in society, we've got to do it at home.
hmm
So cooperating, being considerate with each other, communicating what we're feeling, because there's feelings that, we're stuck in this house together and we're getting to know each other and getting on our things are getting on our nerves, right? We're annoying
Right.
each other.
Right.
So we've got to talk about that
hmm
and work on those things. So this is giving us a chance to get to know each other more,
mm
on top of learning communication skills, learning how to change old habits, like, not being considerate, being selfish. Um, like I tell the boys, we're in this together. We've got to work together, because if we don't, then this is not going to work out.
mm
We're not going to be happy, or we're not going to be stable.
hmm
At least stable, right?
Right.
So,
So we talked about a schedule. This is mainly, I think, a Monday to Friday schedule,
uh-huh.
but I would assume that there should be a schedule for Saturday and Sunday too.
Mhm.
It shouldn't just be, I don't know,
Right.
open-ended.
Going back to what we used to do, right?
hmm
What did we used to do on weekends? It was relaxation time. Let's, visit with family. But we can't do that so much, or maybe not at all. Um, but maybe focusing on the primary family, the, mom, dad, the children. What are we going to do? Let's do some extra stuff together that, we didn't do during the week.
I've heard about families connecting with extended
Mm-hmm.
relatives through Zoom and
Mm-hmm.
other apps,
Mm-hmm.
um, having like a Sunday dinner with,
Oh, that's interesting. I hadn't thought of
setting
that.
up an iPhone camera with Zoom
Mm-hmm.
on it or whatever, and people interacting in that way, or a
Yeah.
laptop or something. Yeah.
So if we do that, because we tried that for Easter and it
hmm
wasn't as effective as I thought it would be,
Yes.
because I think we need a leader, kind of like a host, right?
Okay.
We
Yes.
need the
That's
host
true.
to coordinate the agenda, basically, because
Right.
if not, nobody's saying anything.
Right.
And we've got these groups of families and nobody's really saying, we're just looking at each other.
Yes.
So I found that that's what happened when we did Zoom for Easter.
Oh, that makes sense.
So when I do get together with, like, when after the fact, when I started thinking about it, maybe one of us could have asked each family, what are you guys doing, or how are you guys, handling this, or something like that.
Even having a leader on all in all parts of the get together for each
Right,
uh, family,
right,
you know,
right.
uh, there would be a designated person or someone who would
Hmm.
be making sure everyone's
Participating.
participating.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But as a whole, maybe one person who's the host and
Yes.
ask the questions. And,
Yes.
I mean, there's a lot of organization to it.
Yeah.
There's not a lot, but it can happen, you know.
hmm
But that's a really good idea, Sunday dinner
Yeah.
with your family.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, it's not
Especially,
my idea. I heard it from someone else. Yeah.
especially since Mother's Day is coming up.
Yes.
A
Mother's
lot
Day.
of our
Yeah.
older folks are not going to be visited, or
That's true.
they're not going to be able to see, their families.
Right.
So I think Zoom is a good way to do it,
Mm-hmm.
because I think things are opening up a little bit. So should we start being laxed about, the stay-at-home order now?
Mm-hmm.
I was telling my sons, maybe we can go visit, my mom, because she hasn't been seeing anybody,
Mm-hmm.
and we can have a picnic outside, and she could be, on the porch, and we can be, in the grass, so it's
Yes.
outdoors.
Right.
So try to, be creative.
Mm-hmm.
Do simple things that we really haven't done.
Right.
Get back to the basics.
Mm-hmm.
So
Excellent.
just different ideas. We need to be creative.
Mm-hmm. Very good. So we talked mainly about, families, especially families with children. I know there are a lot of people who are living by themselves.
Mm-hmm.
They may be, single, never married, or the children are grown and they're divorced, uh, or they're widowed and the children are in different states
States.
even. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
What about them? They're kind of
So,
isolated.
right. So it depends on the individual on how they are, built in regards to their personality.
Mm-hmm.
So what I'm experiencing with my clients is that, they are very depressed and lonely.
Mm-hmm.
Um, let's look at, the general community. Some someone, who's got, a healthy mental state,
Mm-hmm.
is doing a schedule. Okay, I'm going to go do this. I'm going to go jog, outside. I'm going to go, do some, gardening. I'm going to work.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to order out and, bring it in,
Mm-hmm.
take out, and bring it home. So not staying in all day, but just, trying to do things that they can do.
Right.
And there's some kind of communication with the outside world just by going to Home Depot or, the grocery store.
I had a friend tell me that she hadn't left her condo for like 3 weeks. I mean, literally has did not
That's
leave.
hard.
And I can't imagine. I would go crazy if I couldn't go out. And I like to walk, a really 5 mile walk
Mm-hmm.
and so forth. But I need to get out.
And some people don't,
Mm-hmm.
like my mom was sick at the beginning of this whole thing,
Mm-hmm.
and she was sick for 4 weeks, and she had nobody around. She didn't leave the house,
Mm-hmm.
and she continued to do that. I think she only went out once or twice because she had to. And she says, you know what, I'm getting used to, staying home. It's kind of nice, but that's not good either.
No.
That's not good either. You've got to get out and interact
Yes.
because we're social creatures.
Even if we're wearing masks, it's
Hmm.
better I think, than being home alone.
We need to connect. We have that need, that internal need.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people who have, depression, they they are very lonely, and they need to have a schedule. One of the things that I listen to relevant radio,
Mm-hmm.
and one of the listeners was a person just like you're describing, doesn't have any family, is staying at home alone, and she was talking about how the station has helped her greatly in terms of getting her wheels turning and just thinking about what people are talking about on that station,
Yes.
and even calling in
Mm.
and giving her experience.
Mm-hmm.
So there's and it's on all day, so she could be listening to it all day.
Yes.
She's not talking, but it's something. Your wheels are turning. You're not by yourself and thinking about all these things that are negative,
Right.
that enhance the negative feelings, which enhance negative behavior, and
Mm-hmm.
that's when it gets a little dark.
Now, sometimes we've been talking about how we can help ourselves potentially and help our families to
Mm-hmm.
cope with this pandemic and lockdown. But sometimes people reach a point, you mentioned depression and so forth, where maybe they're really not able to help themselves without outside help. What are some symptoms of, say, depression or signals that maybe they need some, counseling or therapy or
Well,
something.
I'm hoping that these people have others who are checking in on them, like with a phone call or at least just, knocking on their door and seeing how they're doing.
Hmm.
But because, if they didn't, then we wouldn't know, right? But
Right.
let me go through the depressive symptoms. One of them being isolation. We're already being isolated, so
Yeah,
that's already a factor.
right.
Sadness, crying spells, low energy, all these things, lack of motivation, lack of concentration, lack of pleasure, that anhedonia that kicks in where you don't have any pleasure for anything you do, watching a movie, eating something delicious, that doesn't do anything for you.
Right.
And they don't have the mood to even shower. Grooming is a problem
Hmm.
there. So those are the signs. The physical signs would be like the grooming, not getting up out of bed, having everything dark.
Hmm.
Um, so that's like really severe depression,
Yes.
um, suicidal symptoms.
Hmm.
Um, Being alone, nobody's gonna know what's going on with that person. So we need to check up on those people who are alone.
Live alone,
Hmm.
right?
Right.
They're probably the most at risk,
Hmm.
I would think,
Right.
of perhaps depression that's unrecognized
Exactly.
because they won't notice it in themselves and no one's there to observe it.
Right.
Um,
I've had clients tell me that their their adult children, have come home from wherever they're at, from like different states,
right.
because they're alone.
Mm.
There's no family, no friends that they're connected to,
Right.
and they've got this routine, but they can't stand being alone, so they come
Hmm.
home because they're working from home.
Right.
So might as well work from family's home.
Yes.
So
Well, that's kind of nice.
it
Maybe
is.
not for the parents to get their adult kids back, but
Yeah.
um,
I mean,
yeah,
it's all personal, right?
yeah, yeah. College kids too, and we talk mainly about children under 18, but college age students, they're finishing their semester up at
Mhm.
home. Some of them are missing, graduations. Same for high school. All that. That's tough.
Mhm.
Uh,
Yeah, I'm personally, seeing that. I have my niece who's going to graduate from UCLA,
uh-huh.
and my son who's graduating from high school.
Yes.
So it's really hard on them because they were really looking forward to this last semester wherever they were at.
Hmm.
And but like I've told my son, this is a unique situation. It's
Hmm.
never happened, and you, you're going to be a unique senior because it's going to go down in history.
Yes.
This is going to go down in history. You were the class that didn't get to graduate the way,
Right.
you know, they usually graduate, right?
Imagine the 5-year reunion. I would think.
So,
They really
yeah,
plan a big reunion in 5 years.
exactly. Or maybe next year.
Yeah, maybe next year.
But it's accepting things in a crisis situation.
Hmm.
We can't do anything about it, so let's do something different to
Hmm.
celebrate you, your accomplishments. And it's about acceptance at this point.
Let's get back to the depression. I hate to go down that road, but say you suspect someone in your family or a friend is depressed. What can you do? The person you're concerned about lives alone, and what can you do?
Well, other than providing service or obtaining services
Hmm.
such as some mental health services,
Where
these are
would you
all
go? Where would you go for that?
it's not that hard. Well, it's not that hard because all you have to do is call up your insurance company, and they'll
Hmm.
direct you to behavioral health, and
So you would call the insurance company for the
the
person you're concerned about, right?
right. Say, let me help you. Let me,
Right.
call your insurance company, and because everything is set up so that we can see them via video chat
Hmm.
or telemedicine. The doctors can see them, psychiatrists can see them. But if it's an emergency, like they're suicidal, you
Yes.
need to take them to the ER so that they can be evaluated and maybe hospitalized.
Okay.
So, but one of the things is the easiest thing would be um, the medical insurance company. They'll
Hmm.
direct you to behavioral health,
Yes.
and they'll give you some names of providers near you.
Hmm.
Um, Hopefully, after this whole thing ends, they can start seeing them, personally.
Hmm.
Um, other than that, those services,
Yes.
you could also call 411. I'm sorry, 211. Sorry,
211.
211 is a resource line.
Okay.
So if they don't have insurance, they could call 211, and they could provide different resources for them in their area,
Okay.
such as maybe some depression groups.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe they're doing them online
Mm-hmm.
now. Because
Like a
of
support
Canada.
group
Yeah,
that would
like
normally meet, at a certain
right,
location,
right,
but now they're meeting virtually.
right.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what we've got right
Mm-hmm.
now. But if they have some suicidal symptoms, immediately have them go to ER and have them evaluated.
Mm-hmm.
That's the those are the services that are there for them.
Right.
What can family
And
do?
if I may say this, if someone's life is at risk, I think that's a justification for breaking the quarantine, right? You, if you're able, and up to this, step in, accompany them to the ER.
Or even 911.
Mm-hmm.
They can do the job for them, and hopefully
Okay.
they're equipped,
Yes.
with all the the precautions.
Mm-hmm.
So 911 would be a great place to start too, if it's severe
Right.
enough.
There's another strange scenario too, where families have lost loved ones, who have died from COVID-19 or from something else, and yet they're not able to mourn. They're not able to have like a proper funeral. They really can only have a graveside ceremony. Although there are things that can be done via Zoom or other similar apps, um, but they don't have the family gathered together, mourning together, supporting each other. What about them?
So it's communication. It's so if a family has lost someone,
Mm-hmm.
grieving them together is essential because they're all grieving
Mm-hmm.
that person, that family member. Especially in these situations. I mean, if it was from the COVID-19,
Mm-hmm.
that's horrible because the death must have been lonely for that person too.
Right.
So just communicating, every day, talking about their loss, mourning as if we had the funeral already,
Mm-hmm.
knowing that we will have a memorial sometime in the future
Right.
with that hope.
Right.
And just remembering that person, and I mean do we have services for that in therapy? I mean, they can seek therapy as well.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if seeking the church would help. I mean, I don't know what
Yes.
you guys
I mean, we
are doing.
now that we're being more creative, yeah, we could do counseling online.
Right.
Uh,
And
yeah, and we can actually do like a vigil service.
oh, wow.
This is something that,
Some closure.
yeah, that you would normally do the night before the burial.
Right.
That can be done virtually with Zoom, which I didn't realize until I heard about some other priests doing it.
Oh, really?
And I said, oh, yeah, that's possible.
That's interesting. That's very comforting for the family.
Mm-hmm.
And because they're still mourning. I mean,
Yes.
they died. There's, what do we do? We're just left with nothing. We've got to talk about, what's going on. The process is important.
Mm-hmm. To continue on this topic with the mourning, you said, meeting or with your fellow family members who are mourning, maybe every day or something. It sounds like, that's something you can put in your schedule. The schedule that you say is so important. Right. Maybe you have, a 5 p.m. call with, your closest family members,
right.
just to check in.
Exactly. To see how everyone's doing.
Right. And give everyone an opportunity to express how they're feeling. Different family members will experience the loss in different ways, and some more than others, perhaps. And I think it would be helpful to, start your own family support group.
Exactly.
And allow everyone to talk about what they're feeling instead of, at least this is how it was with my family. Someone dies and they're buried, and that's it. You don't
right.
talk about it again.
Uh-huh.
That I don't think is a healthy way of dealing with grief.
It's healthy to talk about it, to cry together.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times, death is taboo
Mm-hmm.
to all of us, and we try to keep kids away from all that, but they need to learn what it's about too.
Mm-hmm.
It's always about the truth. We need to talk about the truth all the time because that's where we need to be, where
Mm-hmm.
the truth is.
Mm-hmm.
So that goes with every topic.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the things that we were talking about, I think the whole thing is connected to being connected to mentally, emotionally, physically, and spiritually. So we've got to have a balance within our day to do all those 4 items,
Mm-hmm.
to be connected with
Say them again.
ourselves,
Mentally.
mentally, emotionally, physically, and spiritually.
Mm-hmm.
Mentally being our wheels are turning. We're doing our work. We're keeping busy. We're being productive with our mind.
Mm-hmm.
Reading a good book. Um, Emotionally, um, be aware of our feelings, of what we're feeling, what we're thinking, what we're dealing with, and how we're behaving.
Mm-hmm.
So the thought, the feeling, the behavior, it's a cognitive situation there, right?
Okay.
So everything comes from up here. So if we're thinking negatively, everything's going to be in a negative fashion.
Right.
Behavior will be negative.
Mm-hmm.
So we've got to understand what we're feeling to fix what's up here.
Mm-hmm.
So if I'm feeling angry, I need to come back up here and say, okay, wait, why am I feeling angry about this? Let's step back and then resolve that situation with a different, and then that positive thought is going to create a positive feeling, and then that behavior is going to be a good one,
Mm-hmm.
hopefully. So that's emotionally,
Right.
being aware of your emotions.
Mm-hmm.
Physically,
Mm-hmm.
we need to take care of our body.
Mm-hmm.
We need to groom, we need to shower, we need to, even though we're staying at home, I think we should take care of our body.
Right.
And
I heard that you should dress as if you're going to work. When you're going to go work from home, you dress as if you would go to work, and that helps you to, realize that this is my work time. When I get home from work, when I was working before I was a priest, I would change my clothes, and that was a signal that I'm off work now.
we have to be disciplined
Yeah.
in our time. Being
Yeah.
at home, like I said,
Yeah.
people are working more than what they're supposed to.
Right.
And doing that exactly would be a perfect idea. Taking your clothes off and putting some relaxing clothes.
And picking up on what we started with, which was overstressed parents, having boundaries on your work, that you're not answering emails after 6 p.m.
Right.
or before 8 a.m. or,
Keeping the schedule.
Yeah.
Keeping the work schedule.
Right.
If you are working in the evening more, then don't work in the morning.
Right.
And have that 8-hour day of work only.
Right.
Because if we do more than that, then we're neglecting something else in the home.
Mm-hmm.
Now that there are people in the home now.
Mm-hmm.
So the other one is spiritually.
Yes.
We need to sit down and collect our thoughts and enrich our spirituality by, prayer, reading some, good topics that are relevant to whatever it is that you're interested in,
Yes.
and maybe family prayer.
Mm-hmm.
We're getting that opportunity to have that.
Well, the family that prays together stays together.
together.
Yes.
And so why not include something, that is, that we're home, we're all home, let's do it.
Yeah,
We've got all this time.
a daily rosary.
Mhm.
Even the little ones could start leading a decade, perhaps, or
Right.
with help.
Well, my son, my little one, my 5 years, he's like, let's pray the divine mercy now. And so when it happens, he falls asleep.
Yeah, well, that's good.
So he's asking for it.
Yes.
He's feeling some peace, from
Yeah.
it too.
Yeah.
So that's something that we need to incorporate because sometimes we don't,
Mm-hmm.
you know.
Spiritually, too, St. Denis, we're trying to do more and more online. We have a daily Mass every weekday at 8 a.m. from Monday through Saturday. We have 2 Sunday Masses now going on.
Oh, wow.
10:30 a.m. and 5:30 p.m.
On Sunday?
On Sunday.
Okay.
The 5:30 p.m. has our usual contemporary music, so it's
Okay.
bit more geared toward younger people. And this Sunday we have a special uh, guest, so to speak, celebrant. Bishop David O'Connell will celebrate the 5:30 Mass
That's
with us.
beautiful.
So yeah, on Mother's Day, and
That's
um,
beautiful.
so continue to, with your prayer practices and your spiritual practices, or add things, if you have a little more time, uh, go to a virtual daily mass,
Right.
and of course, please attend one of the Sunday masses for sure.
Definitely.
Yeah,
Definitely.
yeah, you don't want to let that go, in my opinion.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah.
So yeah, so all those things are important to balance out in your day
Hmm.
so that we can stay sane throughout this time.
That's good. Uh, did we miss anything that you wanted to cover?
Um, so something I did want to, discuss how that I'm seeing, like I said, every day, things are changing,
Mhm.
and we have to change with that. And in terms of our point of view, each family does.
Mhm.
Um, so we're looking at um, starting slow and then leaving this stay-at-home order, and maybe wanting to continue that. Some of those things that you were doing while we were staying home,
Right.
right? Forming better habits and keeping those, and just focusing on what we can learn from everything that we've experienced
Mhm.
and what we've implemented that we can continue
Mhm.
for a healthy, more connected life with our family and our community. Um, so there's something else, but I lost my train of thought.
That's okay. I can see a potential stress coming down the road, which is the schools are done for the year, right? But the parents may be called into work, and there might be
Yeah.
but hopefully employers will make accommodations under those circumstances so that parents can continue to work from home even as some of the offices open up.
So when summer comes around, parents start feeling a little more relief where they don't have to be on the child in terms of their academics. So there's
Right.
going to be a little bit less stress in regards to
That's good.
um, the children's school,
Hmm.
because they don't have to do certain things to
Right.
you know, pass the grade or whatever it is.
Hmm.
But just giving them some material that they can do, throughout the summer, just to keep them busy for a couple hours, and the rest of the day they can have fun and
Right.
enjoy, and have like some kind of creative schedule to have them do things
Hmm.
to decrease that stress. So hopefully, I'm hearing that people are going to go back to work little by little.
Yes.
So we'll see how that works.
Maybe in stages,
Hmm.
one day a week or every other
Yeah,
day or something like that.
yeah. Let me just review this real fast. I think I forgot something, but
Okay. In the meantime, I'm going to try to get some of the questions that were
okay.
being asked online. And let me see.
Oh, one of the things that I did miss in saying about depressed people who are depressed,
Yes.
um, it's important to have them talk. So because when they're talking, and you're like their sounding board,
Hmm.
and you can give them your positive perspective, and
Yes.
then they can start seeing a little bit of hope um, in terms of their perspective.
Right.
So changing that perspective is important.
I'm going to suggest maybe the talk should also be done with video so you can gauge each
Yeah.
other's,
Uh-huh. Body
reaction.
language,
Yeah.
and
Facial expressions. Yeah.
because I mean we don't know what that person's looking like. They might have not taken a shower for days and days.
Right.
So if we see them, then it's going to really alarm us, and then we're going to need to do something about it.
Right. That's true.
So the
You can hide a lot of things with just, a phone call. Your
mhm,
voice could be fine, but the rest of,
right,
or even the room could be a mess too. You might notice that.
right. So I'm doing video therapy,
Mm-hmm.
and it's kind of nice because I get to see what they're
Oh,
about in their
yes.
home
Yeah.
and what they're looking like.
Yeah.
And so then, I talk about what's going on,
Mm-hmm.
and 'cause sometimes they're hiding that. When they come to
Yes.
the office, they give me their best,
Yes.
presentation,
Right.
and they're not telling me, more than what, is really happening at home.
Right.
So it's kind of like a blessing in disguise,
Yes.
you know? So we'll see how this goes.
Well, thank
With
you.
video therapy, right?
Yes. Uh, I'm looking at the questions, but it looks like someone's asking about marriage stress. So we talked about the stress within, like, for a divorced couple or a separated
Hmm.
couple, but just for a married couple who otherwise have a good relationship, but this may
So,
change things.
because things are changing on a daily basis, there may be disagreements on, um, you know, that whole stay home order. You
Hmm.
know, that's something that, does come up where, there's a disagreement and,
Yes.
what do we do at that point? Because, we're all, doing the same thing. It's new to us.
Right.
And then our kids are seeing that we're not on the same page, and then what do we do? And so there's, we want to avoid the splitting
Hmm.
between the families because of the different viewpoints.
Right.
But stressors other than, like, that, I mean, because there's different scenarios, like, are both parents home? Is one outside of the home?
Yeah.
So
Oh my
communication,
gosh.
communication between the two parents when one is outside the home.
Right.
Communicate how your day has gone, what why you're stressed and why you're short
Right.
sometimes with him or her because of the stress that's going on. Just sharing the burden of what they have to deal with working at home and, being with the kids, monitoring them.
Hmm.
Sometimes you're getting the kids to refuse to do what the parent is asking them to do.
Hmm.
That's another problem, you know. So I'm intervening with, some of my clients with that,
Hmm.
and I'm sure that, a lot of people are going through that too, and they're thinking, well, he doesn't want to do anything because they're playing video games. And okay, well, you have the power. Parents forget that they have the power, the authority
Hmm.
to set rules.
Yes.
And okay, then we're just going to take this controller and, you know, so they don't
Right.
want the kid to get mad. And
Yeah.
so we've got to be, the
The
parent,
parents. That's
you
true.
know. So the stressors between the marriage, between the two parents,
Hmm.
it's communication,
Hmm.
being considerate, and cooperative. Those are my three C's.
Say it again.
My three C's that I give my parent,
What are the three
my
of them?
married couples. Communication, which
Right.
involves listening
Hmm.
and, speaking clearly about what their, thoughts are. Cooperation, meaning that they have to look at each other's sides without that ego, and trying to, no, this is how it's going to be.
Hmm.
Um, Communication is part of that.
Hmm.
So cooperation and consideration, we've got to be considerate towards the other person who's staying home. It's
Right.
like, you know what, I'm going to come, I know that I've been working all day, but I'm going to come home and I'm going to have you take some time
Hmm.
to yourself, and, it's being considerate.
Yes.
So those are the three C's that I want to, throw out there.
Thank you, Veronica. You've been this has been very informative, for me at least, and I hope for everyone at home as well. I think so.
I just touched on a few things, but there's so
Yes.
much more.
Yeah.
There's just so much more that we are dealing with
Hmm.
right now, but I hope that it was helpful.
It was. It was very helpful. Thank you so much. Um, if someone would like to contact you, we'll display your telephone number and email address on screen at the end of this video.
Be happy to help.
That's good. Thank you, everyone at home, for joining us. I hope that that what we discussed tonight will help all of us to better cope with the COVID-19 pandemic and lockdown. In addition, I'd like to thank everyone who has continued to support St. Denis spiritually and financially and in all ways in this unprecedented time. We are truly grateful for your support. Finally, Please join us next week, that is the week of May 11th, for a new episode of St. Denis Now, when I will talk with Jasmine Blackburn, who is our Director of Teen Confirmation and Youth Ministry. We'll discuss how she and her ministry team are continuing to help our youths prepare for the sacrament of confirmation, even though the church, the pastoral office, and Potoff Hall are all closed. It's amazing how quickly they adapted to the new circumstances, and I want to get the word out about all the good work that they have been doing. So until next time, may God bless you and keep you safe.